for the village of McFarland. The candidates running for village president are Brad Czebotar, okay, and Carolyn Clow, right? My name is Diane Martin Liebert, and I'll be moderating this forum today. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Dane County, and on behalf of the League, we are happy to be part of the McFarland Forums once again this year. I'd also like to add the forum is being sponsored by the McFarland Communications and Technological Department, which includes McFarland Cable. This provides an opportunity for the candidates to further their campaign, answer audience questions, as well as help citizens make their choices for the spring election. The election this year will be held on Tuesday, April 2nd. Polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. here at the McFarland Municipal Center. If you would like to vote absentee, you may have the option to do so until March 29th. For more information, please visit myvote.wi.gov. Before I get started, I'll explain the format of today's forum. Today's forum will consist of the candidates' answers individually. One candidate will remain here while the other candidate will be sequestered in another room. Both candidates will be answered the same series of questions. During that time, the sequestered candidate will not be able to see or hear what is happening in this room. Once the time is up for the first candidate, the candidates will transition. Candidates have provided some information that Stephanie will share with you before we start their questions. Each candidate will have approximately 15 minutes to answer a variety of questions. They have 2 minutes for to answer each question. Following the opening statement, I will begin to ask the questions. Each answer must be made within the 2-minute allotted time. As you can see, I have a monitor next to me, and the candidates have one, so they will be able to determine when their time is up. Following the questions, the candidates will have 2 minutes to end with their closing statements. Now, if any of you have questions for the candidates that you haven't already put here, there are note papers under your chair there with a pencil. Please just put them here or bring them to me at the transition period, and we can take care of those after that fact. Okay, now I guess I have to choose which one goes first. My gosh, this is like the... Okay, Brad Czebotar, you're going to be first. So Kathy, I guess you... Czebotar, I'll never get that right.
Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie Miller. I'm the Director for the Communications Technology Department. I thank you very much for all being here today. I'm just going to be doing introductions for our candidates today. So we have Brad Czebotar here, who is currently running for, as you know, Village Board President. He has lived in McFarland for 35 years. Brad is a retired Human Resources Director, but is currently serving as McFarland Village Board President. He started as an elected village board trustee and was then elected as village president by the village board in November of 2012. Following, he has been elected as village president in April 2013, 2015, and 2017. Brad has an educational background of Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, as well as a graduate program in Educational Psychology, both which he received from UW-Milwaukee. He also attended the Milwaukee School of Engineering for Industrial Health and Safety. Lastly, he attended UW-Madison for education in Public Personnel Administration. Brad has participated in numerous community events, such as Bell Ringing for Salvation Army, helping in food drives from McFarland Food Pantry, shared table meals, a public television auction, installation maintenance of playground equipment at several McFarland parks, roadside and parks cleanup, Chocolate Fest, and Big Brothers Big Sisters. He has also been a part of numerous committees, including the McFarland Volunteer Committee. the Lions Club, McFarland School District Core Facilities Committee, Dane County Cities and Villages Association, Wisconsin DOT Beltline Study Committee, League of Wisconsin Municipalities, McFarland Chamber of Commerce, Communities Unite Festival, and is the founder and president of the McFarland Tri-County Youth Basketball. Brad believes that his background, life, and work experiences have prepared him to be a successful village president. As mentioned, he has served on many committees within the community, but he has also served on 13 village committees as well. He has been elected by his peers to leadership positions as president and board of directors for the McFarland Lions Club and treasurer and board of directors for the Yahara Fishing Club. Brad's 25 years of experience in management, human resources, and public service has honed his collaborative skills, allowing him to effectively deal with people who have different or diverse opinions. Welcome, Brad. Thank you for being here.
Okay, now we start with the questions. Will you please begin with your opening statement? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I want to thank the Communication and Technology Committee for hosting this event, the League of Women Voters for moderating, and those of you in attendance today, as well as watching on our cable channel. 6.5 years ago, I was elected village president by the village board after the unfortunate passing of then village president Mike Carolyn. I accepted this office not based on my ambition, but based on a sense of duty to serve my community. The residents of McFarland confirmed the decision of the village board as I have taken the oath to perform the duties of village president 3 additional times. I pledge again that if elected as village president, I will continue to serve the people of McFarland with integrity and the courage to do what is right. During my time as village president, I've had an opportunity to talk with many of you regarding McFarland's future. Ideas for McFarland vary from building a community senior center, constructing a community pool, a splash pad, a managed recreation program. While all these ideas are worthy and would no doubt enhance our quality of life, they all have one thing in common, and that is, in order for our community to grow and thrive, we need to develop our local economy, both residential as well as the business sector. Economic development has been a top priority of mine because it plays such a vital role in our community.
Okay, thank you. The next question, if elected, what issues...
I'm sorry, but it appears that I still have time.
Oh, I'm sorry too, I thought it said 0. Go ahead, my fault. All righty.
Yeah. What point are we starting?
20 more seconds.
All right, thank you. While we've made great strides and improvement to McFarland, there is still work that needs to be done as we consider future amenities that will enhance our quality of life. I pledge to do my part in meeting the challenges of tomorrow in a fiscally responsible way. I ask you to join me in continuing the progress we have made in McFarland by making it the best it can be by voting for me as village president April 2nd.
Okay, thank you. The second question, if elected, what issues would you address first, and how would you go about accomplishing them?
My first priority is to continue the success that we've experienced during my time as village president the last 6.5 years. In order to do that, we need to continue to focus on economic development. But when I'm talking about economic development, I'm talking about more than just economic growth. I'm talking about efforts to enhance our ability to make McFarland a better place to live, to work, to play, and to conduct business. Over the years, my second priority, McFarland has conducted a number of studies. We've done planning, we've surveyed the community, and we've come up with some information on a variety of topics, from a community center, public safety facility, an aquatic center. All these studies, surveys, and planning are a piece of a bigger puzzle. While they provide valuable information, They don't come together. And what I am committed to is a strategic planning process that engages the community as well as the village board in thinking about the future and planning for the sustainable delivery of programs and services to our residents in a fiscally responsible way. My third priority would be, again, along the lines of economic development, but enhancing the appearance of our community through a community-based arts program. We have started efforts in this area. If you go down to McDaniel Park, you'll see structures that were made from old bike parks, put together by community members. If you go to Lewis Park, you'll see a panoramic view of Mud Lake that is hanging in the park shelter. Again, something that was done by one of our community members.
Okay, thank you. The third question, what will you do to help improve citizen engagement with local government?
Citizen involvement is vital to the decision-making process of the village board. I think what you need to start with is to keep people informed as to the issues, concerns, questions that are in front of the village board. Now, we've taken some steps to do that. We've created a communication specialist position and hired somebody into that capacity to enhance our social media presence. We, in fact, then promoted that individual to be the director of our communication and technology department with the emphasis on communication. We have developed a public appearance policy that allows individuals to come before the village board as well as committees to talk about any issue or concerns that they have or to address a specific agenda item. We've contracted with a company called POCO, which puts out questions to the community and asks for their response in comments. These are efforts that we have taken to enhance public input. One of the things that we seem to forget is that the village has an extensive committee structure, committees, boards, and commissions. We have something like over 100 citizens, individuals who live in this community, serving on those committees, boards, and commissions that are reviewing items that have been referred to them by the village board, vetting the question, and making recommendations back to the village board. This is a vital public input process that we should continue and even expand to the extent that we possibly can.
Okay, thank you. Next question. McFarland is known to be a bedroom community. What are your thoughts on the current residential versus commercial situation? And do you feel there needs to be improvement on either of these?
We've seen a great deal of growth in our community in the last number of years. Much of this growth has been in residential housing. The one thing that we've been lacking is commercial endeavors. I'm proud to say, happy to say, that we have a proposal for Farwell Street, what has been referred to as the Gannon parcels, as well as the Gannon office building. Now, I don't know how many people are aware of this, but the village went and bought those properties. We put it out to bid and received a couple of proposals for redeveloping that area. One of the things that we were looking for is commercial space. The developers that submitted their proposals were a bit shy on the commercial space to begin with, but working through comments that they heard from our Community Development Authority, they have gone back, revised their plans, and have expanded the commercial space. So this is the area that we need to continue to work on. Where this development is going to be taking place is in one of our TID districts, which allows us the ability to provide some financial assistance. I think not only in terms of the building as such, but we may be able to provide some incentives to those who want to, from a business perspective, that want to relocate here. For example, rent subsidies for a year or two just to get them settled here. And an important aspect to this whole thing is not only to bring new businesses in, but to ensure the businesses that we currently have are here to stay and they have an opportunity to grow and expand. I think we need to visit or revisit some of the ordinances that we have that seem to hinder or prohibit some of our businesses from growing.
Okay, thank you. The next question. What do you think the village needs most that does not currently have? And how would you go about working to procure it?
What the village currently doesn't have?
Yeah, that it needs most.
Well, there's a number of things that, I mean, the list is endless. What I've heard is the village is lacking a community senior center. This is one of the foremost things on my agenda to get accomplished. One of the possibilities that we have is we're looking at a public safety facility to see what our needs might be. We are cramped for space, it appears, for our fire department and our police department. One of the options is to relocate those two facilities into a public safety building. Well, if we do that, it'll open up space here in the municipal center for a community senior center. That is one aspect that I think we need to concentrate on. I think we need to go further in terms, I think it relates back to the question you asked earlier, in terms of doing what we can to bring more commercial business aspects into the community. I think our ratio right now is about 70% residential, 30% housing. I'd like to see what we can do to get that ratio closer to a 60-40 or 55-45 split. Those are the two areas that I would be concentrating on.
Okay, thank you. The next question. McFarland is a community of all ages, but has a significant senior population. As village president, how do you make sure the seniors of McFarland are receiving the same quality of life as the rest of the community?
Well, we have a very good and very successful senior outreach program here in McFarland. In fact, it's so successful that we serve seniors outside of our community. That goes into part of my answer previously, where we need a community senior center to provide those activities for our senior individuals. It kind of leads into a quality of life issue where individuals at this stage in their life may be looking to downsize. One of the things that I've heard, it makes it difficult for those individuals who can readily sell their home, but to be able to find comparable housing that they can afford in our community. I think it's a question that we need to start in this community in regard to affordable housing. What we have seen is the cost of housing rising faster than wages. And what this has led to is it has affected people across all age spectrums, particularly our seniors. Those individuals who have spent a good amount of time in our community want to stay in our community, but are having difficulty finding senior housing. That's another area that we may need to look at as well. I know a couple of the proposals that came in for developments along Farwell included senior housing, and I think that's an area that we need to continue to pursue.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, what role do village committees play in the work of the village? How should the village board relate to committees and the recommendations they make?
Can you repeat that?
What role do village committees play in the work of the village? How should the village board relate to committees and the recommendations they make?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, committees are a vital part of the village. We have an extensive committee structure. which helps the village board in terms of their decision-making. Typically what happens is an issue will come up in front of the village board, and based on discussion, that issue will be referred to the committee of jurisdiction. Bear in mind, the individuals who sit on these committees are community members. They have an opportunity, along with working with village staff, to dig into this particular question, to vet it, and to make recommendations. They play a very vital role because we cannot, as village board, with all the issues that we have in front of us, really devote as much time to each individual topic, question, concern that comes up. And we rely on those members of our committees to provide that kind of input to the village board and the recommendation. If the recommendation that comes from the committee is sound, which most of them happen to be, the village board typically goes with that recommendation. If it's lacking in some way, oftentimes the village board will refer that issue back to the committee for a review or to answer a specific question. But I think it's a vital part of the decision-making process of the village board, and I rely on our committees immensely.
Thank you. Now you may end with your closing statements.
My time as village president, it's been an honor and privilege to have served the community in this capacity. Over the years, over the 6.5 years that I've been village president, we have accomplished a great deal. The list is long and impressive. I want to continue to do my part in making McFarland the best it can be. I've talked to many of you about the concerns and questions you have regarding the village. And what was interesting to me as I've gone around this community and knocked on doors is how pleased people are with what they've seen happen in our community. And they want to see that progress continue. I appreciate the trust that you have placed in me for these last 6.5 years. I am asking for your vote on April 2nd so I can continue to serve the community. I have the same passion and commitment to make McFarland the best it can be from the day I first joined the village board to today. I thank you for your time. I appreciate your vote.
Thank you very much. You can go now rest in the sequester room.
So round one is over. I'm just going to introduce Carolyn now. So Carolyn Clow, who is currently running for Village Board President, has lived in McFarland for 14 years. She has 18 years experience working for the Department of Administration for Dane County. Carolyn is a lead purchasing agent for Dane County, as well as a current Village Board trustee. Carolyn has an educational background with a Bachelor of Arts in Spanish, which she received from Carleton College in Northfield, Minnesota, as well as a Master of Arts in Public Affairs from La Follette School of Public Affairs from UW-Madison. Carolyn's been a part of many community activities, such as volunteering with the McFarland Food Pantry and McFarland Girl Scouts. She is also a part of the Wisconsin Women in Government, Cystic Fibrosis Foundation of Wisconsin, and the American Legion Women's Auxiliary Post 534. Carolyn enjoys working with others in building a stronger working committee structure and strengthening relationships with other units of government. She believes McFarland's top issue is a lack of development plan that is willing to be followed. She knows that McFarland is experiencing growth in the village, but is missing opportunities to increase sustainability and equity to build a better business community and downtown area. Carolyn has connections with the UW Extension community and economic development staff to help improve future planning. She also wants to help streamline the village's purchasing processes and wants to take advantage of cooperative contracts for better pricing. In the long term, she wants to work with the state to find other strategies for funding local units of government, as Wisconsin's reliance on residential property taxes is very high in comparison to other states. Welcome, Carolyn. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Okay, Carolyn, will you please begin with your opening statement?
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Carolyn Clow. Stephanie stole some of my thunder. I've lived in the village since 2005. We moved here for our kids to go to school. Been on the village board for the last 2 years. And as Stephanie said, I do purchasing and contracting for Dane County for a living. I'm very interested in running for village board because I think that there are a lot of missed opportunities here in the village and we can do better. We need to maximize our resources using careful planning processes. We have more plans than I've really seen before and less ability to use them than I've seen before. And we need to work on fostering sustainability initiatives in the village, environmental sustainability. We also need to strengthen our relationships with other units of government, particularly our fantastic McFarland School District, the county, and the state.
Okay, thank you. If elected, what issues would you address first, and how would you go about accomplishing them?
Sure. The top 2 issues that need to be addressed once I'm elected are to revamp our committee structures so that we have more of a working committee structure that accurately represents the community in McFarland. We have a very difficult time in our committee structures. We don't have gender parity on our committee structures. There's not equal representation of the folks in our community. So we need to rebalance our committee structures, and we need to get our committees so that they are working for the village and bringing some of the information forward that the village needs. The other thing that we need to do is we need to work on figuring out what we're going to do with our planning. We have a comprehensive plan, we have TIF plans, and we are continually making changes to our plans, new plans. Our comprehensive plan was finished in the summer of 2017 to accommodate projects that are coming forward. What that says to me is that we don't know where we're going with our plans. Our plans aren't taking into account what's really happening. There are opportunities through UW Extension, through their Community and Economic Development Department, to do some better planning and get some help standardizing and streamlining our planning, and I would like to work with them to get some of that done.
Okay, thank you. What will you do to help improve citizens' engagement with local government?
We need to do that in a couple of different ways. So first of all, we need to improve our use of social media. I think having Stephanie hired, and as you can see, our wonderful Common Tech team that's here, we finally gotten them bolstered up, and we really need to use our social media to communicate with our community. I raised 3 kids in this community without being on McFarland Moms and Dads Facebook group, and there's more information transacting through the McFarland Moms and Dads Facebook group than there is through the village's Facebook and the communication that we're pushing out. So we need to better utilize our social media to make sure that we're communicating with all of our citizens. We've done a nice job with keeping the Outlook going so that we have a newsletter that we're reaching out to citizens that aren't using social media. And I think that that's great, and we need to keep that going. But social media is where the conversations are happening in this community, and we're really not part of them. The other thing that I think we need to do is to do it with our committee structure. By building up our committee structure, we will bring more people into the workings of the village government, and that will improve the communications of government with the community. We can best represent this community by working together, bringing more people in to be part of the conversation, to have their voices heard, and to build this community up with more people. It doesn't take one village president. It takes all of the people in our community to be building up our community, and we're missing out.
Okay, thank you. Number 4, McFarland is known to be a bedroom community. What are your thoughts on the current residential versus commercial situation, and do you feel there needs to be improvement on either of these?
I think we love to have this conversation here in McFarland. Residential, commercial, bring more businesses into McFarland. This person isn't bringing more businesses into McFarland. That person isn't bringing more businesses into McFarland. We've been very successful here with residential developers coming in and building very high-priced homes on the outskirts of our community without amenities. We really cannot continue to just have residential development on the east side of our community, building really expensive homes with no amenities in those communities. So we need to work on our development plans to make sure that we're including amenities in those areas. There's no reason that we couldn't allow for there to be some retail in some of those areas so that folks can also have the things that they need near their communities. We also, like I said, need to work with Extension to find a plan. We have never done an economic analysis of this community. When we have done our planning, we have done a nice job of hiring consultants and paying them money. We have asked a relatively short list of questions, and we've asked for a lot of community input for what's going on. What we haven't really looked at is what is actually feasible for our community. We don't have a downtown like Stoughton has a downtown, like Monona has a downtown. So we're not going to have that same kind of downtown. But there are many, many communities in this country that have done planning and have changed their communities and augmented their communities based on what they have and what they're able to attract. So we're here saying, like, we want to attract business. No, we need to look at what kinds of businesses can be attracted to this community, and then we need to work to bring them in. We'll have an excellent opportunity. We'll be hiring a new community and economic development director in the summer. Current director is retired, and there are lots of opportunities for the village in that area.
Okay, thank you. What do you think the village needs most that it does not currently have, and how would you go about working to procure it?
Are you looking for an item?
That's kind of the way the question is, yes. What specifically do you think is the most needed?
That's an unusual question. I don't really think that it's for me to say what the village needs most. I think it's for our community to say what the community needs most. We have had all kinds of different things going on all over the place. My favorite example of this is we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago about the aquatics facilities. That's an unbudgeted plan. There's no budget, there's no plan for that project. But we had a community meeting about that. And it was in the Thistle. The public gets first look at possible aquatics facilities, unbudgeted, unplanned project. Monona, top of the fold, same day. Monona aiming for 100% renewable energy. Same newspaper, same day, 2 neighboring communities. What I think that McFarland needs is to make a plan and to choose what they want to do first. We are looking at all kinds of things all over the place. We've talked about community centers. We've talked about public safety buildings. We've talked about aquatics. We've talked about more development. We've talked about all kinds of things. And we're not moving forward on anything. Monona is moving forward on 100% renewable energy, and we're talking about a possible aquatics facility that's unbudgeted and unplanned. I don't think that this is good for McFarland. Our people, our residents, all of you deserve more than that. You deserve a plan that's real. I would love to have an aquatics facility in this community if it works, but I would also love to have a planet for the kids who are going to that aquatics facility. We can't neglect things like sustainability and move forward with these other random plans that just get thrown out there without looking at what's really coming in the future. It is time for us to figure out what we're doing, what we care about as a community, and to move forward in that way. So it's not for me to buy anything for this community right away.
Okay, thank you. McFarland is a community of all ages, but has a significant senior population. As village president, how would you make sure the seniors of McFarland are receiving the same quality of life as the rest of the community?
I think we've done a great job in McFarland of providing services for seniors. Last year when we were talking about the senior nutrition program and whether or not we were going to maintain that or not, I was out front advocating that we maintained those services for our seniors, and I think we should continue to have great services for our seniors. Many of those people are the folks who've been around here for years and years and years, making this community great. But what we do for the seniors needs to be part of the plan, right? So the seniors were supposed to be moving into the community center that we were supposed to be building. So I joined the board. A couple of months later, I was the chair of the ad hoc facilities committee. That committee created a plan for a community center. The day that I chaired, we were all ready to go. Everyone in the room was going to be on board with the plan. We were set to move forward. And I no sooner got in the room and Trustee O'Hearn and I started the meeting, and it was clear that not everyone in the room was on board. So again, it comes back to our planning. We can't provide anything more for our seniors. Sure, we've talked about needing space for additional recreational opportunities, for a better meal site, for a long-term lounge, all things that we could do. Maybe we can use the library space, the former library space where the youth center is during the day now, to do some of that programming if it works with our staffing in the interim while we figure out what we're going to do about any kind of possible building project. But until we have a plan and we know where we're going, we're limited to how much that we can serve our seniors. We can continue to bolster the programs that we have here, but we've reached capacity in the space.
Okay, thank you. The seventh question, what role do village committees play in the work of the village? How should the village board relate to committees and the recommendations they make?
I think the village board should establish our committees in a stronger way, making sure we have the correct representation on the committees, give the committees real work to do where they're bringing back information to the village board, and then the trustees should be using that information as advisory information for the decisions that they're making. Unfortunately, at this time, I think what we're doing is sort of just flopping topics and issues into committees. We don't really tell the committees what we need for them to do, what kind of work actually needs to happen on those issues, and we're not getting back good information. And then we have a hard time as trustees, we're re-vetting the same issues at the board meeting that were talked about at the committee meetings. By structuring our committees better and assigning the work tasks better to the committees, we can make sure that that information is better for the village board. This village board, anyone who's sitting up here, me, anyone else, people 100 years from now, make better decisions when they have better information. And some of that information can come through our committee structure. We have very talented people in our community that have knowledge on a lot of issues that could be helping to inform what we do and augment the information that our staff has and the information that the members of the board have.
Okay. And now you may end with your closing statement.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the time to come out today. This is, I think, better numbers than we had a couple of years ago. It is really time for McFarland to have a change. I decided to run for village president because we have seen very generously our current village president has donated 7 years of his time to the village, gotten us through some difficult periods, but we need to move forward. We are missing opportunities to decide on what this community wants and to advance those issues forward. We've talked about our community center over and over and over again. Probably people in this room have sat on those committees and been part of looking at the same issue over and over again. We haven't moved it forward to decide to do it or to decide not to do it. We need to have a different leader, and I have put myself up for that role to take on bringing more voices in our community into the room, streamlining the work that those committees are doing, and moving our village forward. If we don't maximize our resources as we move through, work together with other units of government, create an environmentally sustainable way of doing things, there won't be a planet here. We'll just be the same old bedroom, sleepy bedroom community where we get in our cars and go into Madison to do all the things that we need to do. Working together, all of the members of this community, all of the other government entities that we touch, that we are near, we can do more. So I ask you to vote for me on April 2nd.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess now we're transitioning into the school board candidates? No?
Questions from the audience?
Oh, questions from the audience, and I guess Brad has to come back. That one has already been answered. Does anybody else have any questions for the village president candidates? I have a bunch here, but that's all? Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Alrighty. Okay, now you both get, was it 2 minutes to answer each one of these questions? The first one, will you extend our current agreement with the Town of Dunn regarding annexation? And Brad, we'll start with you.
The Town of Dunn in terms of annexation?
Yeah.
The boundary agreement that we have with the Town of Dunn expires in 2025. It's a topic that we still need to look at and start entering into some preliminary discussions with the Town of Dunn. Now, the Town of Dunn has taken many steps in terms of creating conservancy areas, agricultural districts that kind of prevent the village from, if they did annex, developing those areas. As I've gone around and I've talked to town people, there doesn't seem to be a real desire on their part to annex into McFarland at this point in time. We've had the opportunity to annex to the east, south of Siegel Cow to the freeway and across, and recently annexed lands north of Siegel Cow. So there's no real push on the part of the village to do anything as far as annexation in the Town of Dunn. So the village wouldn't necessarily take any action to do that. It would have to be a request that would come from the town residents if they wanted to join the village at this point in time.
Okay, thank you.
So a boundary agreement would be made between the two communities. It would be between the village of McFarland and between the Town of Dunn. And as current village president said, that agreement is in place through 2025. We don't have any actions that need to be taken on that. What we do need to do is to make sure that we're maintaining our relationship with the Town of Dunn, with the town supervisors in the Town of Dunn, so that at the time that those decisions need to be made and as we roll out those conversations, there's a place for having those conversations. And if there are residents who are interested in participating in those conversations, they should be participating through their respective units of government.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Public transportation is very minimal in McFarland and the surrounding areas. What are your thoughts on this? And we'll start with Carolyn.
Public transportation is very minimal. We are well positioned in our location proximate to the city of Madison. We do have the bus routes that run right up to the edge of the village. Absent a regional transit authority, there really isn't a way to extend that, a funding mechanism for extending that transportation into the village. I did recently accept a citizen appointment on the Planning Commission, Transportation Planning Commission, so that I could be part of those conversations because I think they're very important to the village. There really isn't a way to make that happen today, but it is the way of the future. It is something that at the point that we can bring that to the residents of the village, we should. And so by taking the citizen appointment, I'm hoping that I can bring that to the village the best, at least information, conduit for information to the village the best that we can.
Okay, thank you. Brad?
Transportation is an important issue because it shapes our community as well as our way of life. Reliable transportation, safe biking, as well as pedestrian connections allow us to get to our jobs, to school, to our shopping and to our recreational activities. This was such an important topic area that a number of years ago, I created an ad hoc transportation committee to study this very question. And from that committee, a number of options that were offered for us to consider. Some of those we've already implemented, as we put sidewalks in along Farwell Street and the boardwalk on Grandview Conservancy. Some of the things that we need to look at, it's an important enough question that we should consider whether this is worthy of a standalone committee for transportation, or at the very least, include transportation as part of the charge of one of our existing committees, and to look at such options as extending the Metro bus system into McFarland, looking at the possibility of contracting with an independent bus service to bring service here into McFarland, to look at areas like van pooling, carpooling, taxi sharing, and such, looking at such areas as telecommuting. And it's not that far away, folks, where we need to start planning for the driverless cars. It's going to be here very, very shortly. I think one of the things that we also need to do is to work with our sister communities around Dane County from a regional approach and look at regional express bus service that could come into the McFarland area.
Okay, thank you. Brad, this one is for you. How will you manage the McFarland's parks?
How would I manage the McFarland parks?
Yes.
I think for the large part, we've done a pretty good job. But what I would point out is, and I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this, we're a community of about 8,400 people. McFarland has about 42 parks. That's a lot of parks for this population. Many of these parks are neighborhood parks, and some of them are not heavily utilized. I think one of the things we need to do through our Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources Committee is to look at what these neighborhood parks are offering, what they're not offering that would entice people to use them more than is currently being done. One of the things that we do lack is a large community park. And I say this because there is some interest on the part of the curling club to expand. And they're located at McFarland Park. If they expand, it could have an effect on our ball diamonds and our soccer fields. There is a growing demand, as you talk to the school board members, for baseball and soccer. And so I think that's another thing that we need to look at from a village board standpoint and a community standpoint to develop another community park. We've gone to measures of reorganizing the Public Works Department, where we've established a position to work on our trees, and we're going to be going forward, and we've established a position to oversee our parks operation. So we're going to be in the process of hiring somebody to that position.
Okay, thank you. Carolyn.
So in terms of management of our parks, it's really looking at what we already have and deciding where we'd like to go. I think this change of the village board voting for a new position that will be dedicated just to parks, kind of creating a division within our public works department. So it'll be public works and utilities, and parks will be a separate division, so that we can start to see what parks looks like in our community. And what we want to do with those parks and where we want to go with those parks. What that leads into, and conversations that I've had with many people, are what do we do with recreation? Many of the communities around in Dane County and other communities have recreation programs. We don't yet have that type of programming. Some of those needs are served through the school district. Some are served through private organizations, nonprofit organizations that are organized around different specific sports that I know lots of parents are putting lots of time into. So we need to figure out where we want to go, and I think that is also part of our planning process. We're currently engaged in doing our new 10-year Parks and Open Spaces plan, and I hope that some of these questions, some of the future budgeting, future issues, getting citizen input on these can be taken care of as we create that plan.
Okay, thank you. Carolyn, you get this question? Describe your leadership style and how you have dealt with other people on the village board or committees with whom you've disagreed.
Sure. I have had a hard time since I've been on the village board figuring out how to fit in and where to go. And so I think initially my leadership style has been kind of aggressive. And I have been building that in my time on the board and really working to be more collaborative. I've had the ability to do that in the other organizations that I work with, and I've struggled on the board with that. So really I've been working on building up my leadership skills to be more collaborative and inclusive, and to bring more people in.
Okay, thank you. Brad?
My style has been that of a collaborative leader. My 25 years of management experience in human resources, as well as public service, has honed my people skills, my collaborative skills, and has allowed me to effectively engage individuals who have a different opinion or perspective on things. As a result of that, I have earned the endorsement of the village board. I'm a common sense leader. I think you need others to get things done. You need to develop a positive tone, an atmosphere that allows people to feel comfortable in expressing themselves, hearing what they have to say, listening, value their input, and putting this all together in a direction that benefits the community. That's what I've done. That's why I'm so proud that the village board members are supporting me for village president.
Okay, thank you, Brad. The next question goes to you. Does the village board have term limits? And if not, why not? And would you support them?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I would have answered that maybe differently a little bit ago than now. There is no term limits for village board members. Actually, I like to say, because this has been a discussion not only at a local level, but state level as well as a national level, should there be term limits for elected officials? My response to that is, well, it's not formal, but it already exists, and that is your ballot. If you feel that the individual who is in that particular position is not fulfilling what you think should be happening, you have the ability to remove that person through the ballot box. So there are no term limits as far as village offices. The term for village president and for trustees are 2 years.
Okay, thank you. Carolyn?
I think Brad's provided you the factual information about that. There are no term limits. I think it's a tricky question, because there have been times in the village where we haven't had enough folks even to fill the trustee seats, and we've had write-in candidates for trustees. So it's tough to have term limits and to exclude by ordinance people who are interested in serving when there aren't always more people who are interested in coming in behind them and serving. So that's very tricky for small units of government like us. So at this point, I don't think that it would be helpful to have term limits, but we do have voting. And as Brad mentioned, everyone gets to vote. And so when we've made changes, we get to do that at the ballot box.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Carolyn, this one's for you. How will you address the lack of affordable housing in McFarland? And in particular, how will the proposed development on Farwell Street help or hinder a remedy to this problem?
Sure. The proposed development on Farwell Street right now does not, the most recent plans that have come through does not have any affordable housing in it. So The newest development is not going to impact our affordable housing situation one way or the other. I've been working hard to try to learn as much as I can about affordable housing and about what municipalities can do with respect to affordable housing. I spent a day last summer at the Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Association's day-long conference on affordable housing with our community development director, Pauline Baness. But at this point, we have not created any kind of planning or any kind of will or understanding of how we might do any affordable housing in this community. There was some affordable housing proposed in the Farwell Street project initially, and that element of it was taken out because of the size of the buildings. There are really some very complicated financial issues that go into affordable housing. Affordable housing can only be successfully done with a combination of federal tax credits, usually contributions from the municipality where the affordable housing is going to be, oftentimes funding from the county also. I've managed the county's affordable housing development fund RFP process for the last 6 years, so I'm very familiar with how that process works. But it's a very complicated financial puzzle to make affordable housing work. If McFarland is going to bring affordable housing here, we need to get good at how that puzzle works. We need to develop the business and development savvy to work in that space and intentionally target and bring projects to this community.
Okay, Brad?
Affordable housing, the question is not unique to McFarland. When I've talked to my counterparts around the state, other village presidents and mayors, we are all facing the same situation. As I mentioned earlier, the cost of housing has risen faster than wages. The standard today for affordable housing is considered 30% of your income should be devoted to your housing. This becomes an economic issue because if you're spending more than 30%, you have less disposable income to spend on goods and services. It becomes an economic development issue in that if we have employers here where they can't have their workers live in the community and those workers have to commute a distance to get here, it raises the possibility of turnover. I was talking to Andrew Burdell, our school superintendent, the other day, and we were talking about affordable housing because it was in some of the projects that were proposed along Farwell Street. And he said, you know, Brad, I've got beginning teachers teaching here in McFarland who are having a difficult time finding housing that they can afford in our community. We've seen that with young people entering the labor market. As I mentioned earlier, we're seeing the squeeze on those individuals who have reached that point in their life where they'd like to downsize, and they can readily sell their home, but they can't find comparable housing in our community that they can afford. I think the proposal that has been offered, and it's a question that we need to engage in from a community standpoint. Some of the issues that came up in terms of affordable housing was from the public who seemed to have a concern about affordable housing versus low-income housing. And it kind of steered the conversation away from what has been proposed from the two developments that had been originally submitted.
Okay, this time is up now, so I want to thank you both for the candidates and for the audience for being here. And yes, please, everybody vote on April 2nd.